Next, I don't know if y'all saw this, but SQC had an interesting opinion on hip hop. Again, this is the person who he's from Canada, I believe, but he's up there. Where we say they not like us because we already know what that is. And a fake friend with Drake, but he's a big fan, but doesn't know any of his songs. He got the chance to do live streams with him, but because apparently you're for the culture. But apparently the culture is, we'll talk about it in a second. The culture is not real, according to some other people from Canada. Anyways, he had an opinion about hip hop and is talking about the bad messages that US hip hop is displaying compared to other countries. This is why he listens to rap in other countries, like China, for example. I'm like, huh. Okay. Let's listen to this real quick.
Even go
Rap music, hip hop, R&B shit is usually 90% of it is shit. Lyrically, message wise, like,
You know what? I actually agree with that part, though. We were literally just talking about that. I do agree with that part. 90% is shit. Yes, I agree. Especially if we're talking about lyrically. Yeah, I do agree with that part.
I bought is Louis V for my bitch in my ride in my car to the club with the boys out the trenches.
That was his attempt to rap. It was cute. I find it funny that he's trying to make fun of what rappers be rapping about, but he has a Gucci shirt on right now. I just want to point out the hypocrisy there. But let's continue.
Out here stacking racks, boom boom. Okay, dude. Most of the songs are like that. Generally, most of the songs are about that. It is what it is. You want to get mad about that? Whatever. Okay, lay out all the lyrics, all the tracks that they've been releasing, and give me the topics of those songs. What I said is accurate 1 to 1. 1 to 1. So yes, the reality is the market, the everything. It's people aren't even listening. Like this, it's just some basic level shit to go with a beat that fucking bops in the car. It is what it is. I mean, what about it?
in
I mean, yeah, I do agree with that part, but you can't be saying that, but then going around and like, oh man, that's why I listen to music from other countries. Like, you don't understand them, but yeah, they just like Mel said, they rapping about the same stuff. They're literally rapping about the same stuff. So I think that's just hip hop as a whole, especially now. I agree with your main point that it has no substance. 90% of it has no substance, yes, but we can't just be using it across the board as to why you don't like it, or try to shit on the US rap and talk about you listening to music in other countries. Like, I would argue XQC don't really even listen to rap, period, because again, he ain't about the culture. Like, what does XQC really listen to? I would argue that he listens to stuff off of like the typical playlist, like Rap Radar, Rap Caviar, stuff like that. You're listening to the mainstream stuff, and I try to tell people that if you're basing your opinion on an entire genre because of the mainstream music, aka the stuff that's on the radio, then you're not getting the full experience. You're not getting the full experience. I'm not saying to go and dig in the crates and try to find someone underground, because a lot of people, they're not going to do that, period. They're not going to go in and look for somebody. They're only going to accept recommendations from pretty much word of mouth. I get that, but again, you cannot base your entire opinion on a genre or really anything just going off of what's just like being thrown in your face. I get that's the easiest thing to try to critique, but that does not represent the entirety of something. And again, in this specific case, it does not represent the entirety of hip hop. Yes, the majority of hip hop is talking about doing drugs, selling drugs, braggadocious stuff. Again, cars, clothes, hoes, money. We're always going to talk about that stuff. That's fine. And yes, it's to a beat, and yes, people just listen to the beat. I agree with that. I just said that. I just said that earlier. But again, hip hop is, even though it's in a weird spot right now, it's still, I can't even really say it's thriving, but it had its moment definitely in the limelight. We're seeing the shift now where more like country is like really, really popular right now. Obviously pop is still going to be pop. So we're like seeing a lot of those artists like dominate like the top 100 billboards. So we're seeing the shift that hip hop isn't as dominant, as it was before, but hip hop is still gonna make money at the end of the day. People still want to be listening to hip hop. And yes, it doesn't matter exactly what they're talking about because again, people aren't listening. Yes, you are rating that in that aspect, but I don't agree with you shitting on the entire genre, especially in the US because of that. Like acting like it's just nothing to hip hop and everybody is rapping about this stuff. The bottom line, mainstream music is all you got. You want a real fan again? Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Say you're not ready for that conversation. He listens the same words you said. Yeah. It's it's and this is why again we shouldn't allow everyone to have an opinion. But again, the more popular you are, the more your opinion is just spreading across this thing we call the internet. It's fine, but I want to talk about that real quick. As you see, definitely being a bit delusional in his overall sentiment, but I do agree that he is right in that 90% of hip hop does rap about the same stuff. Yes, he's right. He is right on that. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is again, we're talking about another Canadian. And this guy said, we're gonna play this video. He said, for the culture is a pack of nonsense. If you haven't done it yet, open your damn eyes. Now, I talked about this person before. He has become a punching bag of the reaction slash breakdown section of YouTube for hip hop. Because at one point, this dude was a dirt, by the way. He was thriving because a lot of people came to him for his breakdowns on the Kendrick and Drake songs all last year. Even though he doing it before, but that's when he got really popular. It's when a lot of channels got really popular. Excuse me. So, but he done a lot of shady things. Like he said a bunch of weird things in his videos. Like everybody points out, he talked about in one of the Drake songs. I think it was Family Matters, where he said he counted how many niggas that Drake said, and he said he counted 37 niggas. And people have been clowning him ever since. So he said a lot of weird things, like theories that he's trying to like pass off as facts in his videos, and he's been doing a lot of like shady stuff like within like the reaction community as well. He wrote a lot of people the wrong way. So ever since then, he kind of been on the outs. Like I remember he took a hiatus, and now he's come back, and he's still like super biased towards Drake, like super biased. And I get it. He's from Canada, you have your preference on who you like. He claims he likes Kendrick as well, but like his videos have not shown that he's like down the middle. His videos have shown that he's more pro Drake, which is okay. But what up, baby? And so yeah, he's been having a lot of bad takes. Like he got into it with Punch on Twitter recently. Like it's just bad. But let's watch the video real quick and see his opinion on the culture, which again he's not a part of. And I find it very funny that he's made this video about the culture not being real or being nonsense when again you're white. And I don't care, like you're white, it's gonna be very, very difficult, especially you're white and you're from Canada. It'll be very, very difficult for anybody to accept you into the culture. You're a bystander, you're a visitor, it's okay, but it's not for you, and that's fine. But for him not to understand that, he feels like he's on the outs, which he is. He always was. But to just say it's nonsense because you're not a part of it means that you're hating. It means that you're hating. Okay? Yeah, I know. Like he done again a bunch of other weird stuff. But let's listen to the video and then we'll talk about it a little bit more.
The way that these guys push narratives is fucking sickening. Hip hop is back, bro. Lyrics are in. I can feel the shift, bro. I don't know about you. Okay, if that's the case, then why didn't you react to a single album that Boldy James put out this year when he put out 6? How come no one talked about Larry June and 2 Chainz album? What about
people did. Again, you're basing this, and we'll talk about, my tweet, but he's basing this off of what reaction channels have done, or in this case, haven't done. But does it represent the reaction channels, represent the culture? No. Reaction channels on YouTube or social media, period, do not represent the culture. Yeah, some of them are for the culture, but they do not represent the culture. The culture is not a group. The culture is not an affiliation. It's not a political side. It's either you are for the culture or you are not. And this is what I've been arguing against since last year when we seen this weird shift and we seen a lot of Drake stands and even Kendrick stands, come together, start fighting each other, over this whole beef when a lot of y'all weren't for the culture in the first place. A lot of y'all didn't really like rap. You didn't ingest rap. Hip hop wasn't your thing. You may like some songs, you may like some people, but you aren't really tapped into hip hop for real, for real. And it's okay. It may not be a genre that you really, really enjoy, but for some people to get popular and start spewing their weird opinions over this, you know, whatever you want to call it, it just ended up becoming a weird mesh of people who are just not, they have their own agendas, and they're not really part of the culture for real. Yeah, I don't know, Okra. I don't know.
About the LP that Nems dropped. Busta Rhymes dropped an EP. Never heard anyone talk about that. What about Jim Jones? He dropped an album. What about Currency and Harry Fraud? What about Young Buck's new album? Smoke DZA, he dropped a tape. Wait, so if you're so for the culture and representing the culture, why didn't you talk about KRS-One's album? Let's go to the other side of it. What about Coda the Friend? Fairly new rapper, right?
Oh man, Coda the Friend, fairly new rapper. Like again, shows how much you know. Shows how much you know. Again, like he's naming all these albums, and we have to understand that I'm never upset of a reaction channel or any other channel that mainly covers hip hop on YouTube or social media period not covering these albums as far as reacting to them or reviewing them, because at the end of the day you have to go with whatever's going to make the money. And we all know what happened last year. This is the reason why he's also not doing it, and this is why he's upset. He's like, oh man, y'all ain't doing it, but I'm like, you're not doing it either. So who's really for the culture? Again, this is something that he clearly does not understand, but people are going to do whatever makes the money. So again, the Drake and Kendrick stuff, people are going to cover that every single time that something happens, a new development happens, because guess what? People are going to click on it. People aren't necessarily going to click on if you're reacting to or reviewing a KRS-One album. And it's the unfortunate truth, but does that still mean that the culture is nonsense, that it doesn't exist because people aren't reacting to it or people aren't reviewing it who you want to be peers with, who have put you on the outs, and now you're upset? And because you're upset, you're saying that the culture is nonsense and not real? No, not going to allow you to do that. Not going to allow you to do that. People like what they like, but at the end of the day, YouTube with social media is a numbers game. That's why I don't react or make a video about everything. First of all, I'm not trying to get copyrighted because it's already messed up as it is. But two, you talk about whatever's going to make the money. I mean, they said it is what it is. Why a lot of people, a lot of channels ended up getting popular because, again, they were talking about Kendrick and Drake. That's all they were talking about. Kendrick and Drake, and they end up making money for it. So of course, you're going to keep talking about it. I mean, you call it grifting or whatever, but it is what it is. That's just the game that we're playing. But you can't be upset and be like, oh man, it don't exist, man. Y'all over being frauds. Cause y'all react to this, and this. You ain't do it either. So who's really wrong? Everybody wrong then, apparently. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, bro. You never part of it in the first place.
Really doing real hip hop? How come no one reacted to his album? Capadonna, Wu-Tang? Where was the reviews of West Side Gun's album? What about Lloyd Banks? I didn't hear a single person talk about this. Benny the Butcher, brand new EP. A$AP Rock, this dropped 2 months ago. Oh, but when it comes to the Carter 6, that's a different story. The culture needs to talk about that because that makes money, right? And you gotta scratch your head when it comes to an album like Public Enemy's new project, right? Like, if you're so for the culture, why didn't you talk about this? Oh, but everyone talked about Clip's new album, right? I wonder why.
It made money, and they did like a million different rollouts for it. That's why. Because it was popular. It was a popular thing to talk about. Are we like this dense? Like, I just don't understand. He's trying to make a point, but he's failing miserably because, again, he doesn't understand that people are going to talk about whatever makes the money. Like it's not that deep. Seriously, it's not that deep. People gonna talk about whatever makes them money, and you're talking about strictly reaction channels or just channels on social media, but you're not talking about the entirety of the landscape of hip hop. Like, what about the people who still do paperback reviews, like Pitchfork, for example, like Rolling Stone, or they not for the culture? They talk about it. I get what you're trying to say, but it's just not hitting.
Because it had a massive Rock Nation push, one of the biggest industry pushes we've seen in years, and that you'll actually make fucking money if you talk about this. Again, because you care so much about hip hop, you got to talk about Drake's new tracks or anything he does and talk about how it's totally not hip hop, right? Yet, because you represent hip hop so fully, you got to talk about Drake's lawsuit and how that's not hip hop. But now all of a sudden, real hip hop is back, right? It's a bunch of malarkey. They've been pushing it for a year. People are sick of it. I'm calling it out. I'm sick of it. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Oh, my bad. I said that all while muted. God damn it. My bad. I said it sounded like a bunch of political jargon to me. Said the culture isn't an affiliation or a gang. Either you're a part of it or you aren't. If you're basing people covering the albums you mentioned off of social media reps, yeah, you already lost supply, and you were never a part of it. And that's real. That's real. You were never a part of it. It's so weird. And again, this happens a lot with black people. Happens a lot with black people. And again, we talk about the culture all the time. Like, we talk about other races, like jacking our slang, jacking our culture, like trying to get in on things that we made popular. But this does happen all the time. You have other people on the outside who think that something is cool and they try to get in on it. And then when you say, hey, this ain't, maybe this ain't for you, like, you can sit there and watch, but like don't try to join in. Like, let us have this is ours. People get upset at that. They're like, oh, well, why can you do this but I can't? Like, just like, again, the age old saying, like, why can't I say the N-word? It's like, nigga, you can't. You just can't. Like, it doesn't have to take a whole dissertation in order for you to understand why you can't say the word, or why you saying the word will be offensive to somebody who's black. So again, it's all part of the culture. You don't have to be a part of every single thing. People just want to be a part of something. I understand. It makes them feel special. It makes them feel, I don't know, like a sense of community. Being online is weird. I know not a lot of people are interacting with each other in real life. So a lot of people do seek some solace online. I understand that. But again, find your tribe. You don't have to try to insert yourself into every single thing that you may find interesting. It's okay if you just watch from the sidelines sometimes. It's okay. And again, this whole, real hip hop is back. I mean, a lot of people are saying it because we're seeing, I don't know if it's going to be a complete shift. But what we are seeing is people who actually show their passion in the hip hop world are coming out with quality albums now, and they're getting the recognition and they're getting the attention that they deserve. Okay, now we're not saying that again everybody's going to be listening to lyrics now in all these songs, but we are seeing a slight, again, I want to keep using the word shift. We're seeing an interest. We're seeing and I wouldn't say, because it's not like this is new, because people cared about lyrics for a while, but we're seeing an interest, and I think a larger crowd here that actually wants to hear something of substance now. I think that's what we're seeing. I don't think we're ever going to get fully back to, if you can't actually rap, or if you aren't saying anything that's interesting, then we're not going to listen to you and support you. I don't think we're ever going to get back to that, because again, people get manufactured and thrown into the spotlight every day. But we are at least seeing that more people are starting to care about the authenticity and substance in hip hop now. And we're seeing a lot of older rappers still be able to flourish in 2025 and not be thrown to the wayside. I mean, some of the albums, again, he just named, like Public Enemy came out with another freaking album. KRS-One came out with another freaking album. Like, those are legends in the game from way back, you know? And the fact that they're still able to do it is pretty amazing, in my opinion. And the fact that even though What's the Dirt is saying, hey, why aren't y'all reacting to this? I ain't heard nobody talk about this, and this. People at least notice that these legends from way back are still caring about hip hop. They're still passionate about it, and they're still making projects. Said bandwagon people from hip hop Discord. I'm saying, bro. So, yeah, I mean that one rubbed me the wrong way. Cause I'm like, bro, why is it every time something pisses you off or you get into it with somebody, you gotta come out with videos like this, and now you're saying that For the Culture is a pack of nonsense because you aren't a part of it. You know, you don't have to say that something doesn't exist just because you weren't a part of it, buddy. All right. This is my problem, not only with him, but again, with the majority of Drake stands and Kendrick stands, all the people who didn't care about hip hop, didn't watch one single rap battle, didn't know one rap beef, they weren't a part of it, they weren't even alive when some of our most famous rap beefs were happening, all of a sudden had some opinions and started looking for the facts. When again, it's just rap beef. You say whatever the hell you want. It doesn't have to be real. It's what's believable to you, what sounds good to you. I've said this at the beginning. I watch rap battles all the time. I watch rap battles all the time. They say the most heinous shit, and then they'll dap each other up after they're done. That's the game. That's what it is. Same thing happens on Wax. It's rap beef. Sometimes it gets real, but sometimes it's just who can slander the other the most. All right. Well, the majority of the time is who can slander the other the most. All right.